Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and I'm in Georgetown, Ohio, and I'm at the boyhood home of somebody very, very special. I'm going to turn the camera around, and she's going to tell you a little bit about where we are.
Okay, this is the boyhood home of Ulysses S. Grant. He lived here from the time he was a baby until he went to West Point when he was 17. He lived here longer than he lived anywhere else in his life.
Wow.
And this is his home right behind me here that his father, Jesse Grant, built. He started in 1823 and completed building in 1828. And they lived here for 18 years. And it was Grant's boyhood child growing up. And over here was the tannery yard. His father built the tannery, which is the White House right there. Where they tanned the hides, and this is where they slaughtered the animals, the deer, horses, cows, all of these animals. So the proximity to the house is right there.
Right.
He had to learn to live with all of
his father was a tanner.
Bad smells. The tanner, yes. Jesse, his father, made saddles, bridles, harness, and shoes.
And he hated it. Ulysses hated it.
Hated it. Well, I think most people hated it. You had to work there if you were employed there. You just had to learn to do it. But Ulysses hated it with a passion because he was a horse whisperer. He just had to snack horses. And so he made a deal with his father when he was just 6, 7, 8 years old. If he would haul passengers and freight, working with horses is what he wanted to do and be successful. He didn't have to be in the tannery because his younger brothers didn't seem to mind. But Ulysses was not going to do that. So he would figure out some other way to be successful, and he was many times hauling passengers and freight.
Awesome. Awesome. And then he left here and went to West Point, and
in 1839.
Then he spent a career in the Army and became very, very famous. That's a whole nother story.
Won the war.
Yes, ma'am. So I tell you what, let's go inside and take a look inside if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're in the parlor of the Grant boyhood home, and Ulysses' father built this part, this whole section in 1828. This was the final section of the house that he added on to. So within 5 years, he ended up with a big house. His father was a tanner. He made saddles, bridles, harness, and shoes. And so this tells us he was very successful. We just had a big renovation done in 2011 where they put down wallpaper and carpeting like they think the Grants would have had in 1830. And these are 2 photographs, not of the Grants, but they are of other families that they used to replicate the carpeting. See here, you can see the carpeting.
Right.
And then on the floor they replicated that carpet.
Wow.
And then the drapes, the idea of those red drapes came from that photograph or that drawing. And then this one shows the wallpaper and the border where they tried to reproduce it in some fashion. Now we haven't decorated for Christmas right now, which normally it's not, but we're on the Christmas home tour this year. So this one lady, she collects lots of antiques, and so these are things that they might have had for Christmas decorations back then. Then the one really interesting thing, this fella started scraping on this door right here. It was layers and layers of paint. And underneath was this. We had no idea that this was underneath all that paint.
Wow.
And Jesse Grant, his father, Ulysses' father, did this. He had this, it's a plain pine door, but he put this stain to make it look like cherry and walnut. And we had no idea it was hiding under all that paint. Both sides, it's just beautiful.
I think you said the house was a rental property for
over 100 years.
Over 100 years until the 1970s.
Yes, it was.
So
we're just so fortunate that renters back then took good care of property. So anyhow, Ulysses hated the tannery. And the tannery is the White House right across the street. That is the original tannery.
We'll get a shot of that outside.
And then right here in this yard is where they slaughtered all the animals.
Okay.
Deer, horses, cows, all these animals. Well, Grant was a very, very good horse whisperer, and he loved horses. Well, that's where they were killed. So he did anything and everything he could to stay out of the tannery. And so he was very good with horses, hauling passengers and freight everywhere. And so he was here at the tannery, but his brothers, younger brothers, they worked at the tannery way more than he did. He was out and about. That was what he wanted to do.
Were they considered wealthy, moderately wealthy, middle class?
Very moderate. They were not wealthy people, no. But Jesse, his father, was the first mayor of Georgetown. Then he had real estate business, started a girls' school, which was most unusual back then because girls weren't supposed to go to school. They didn't let girls go to school at all. And insurance, liveries, hauling passengers and freight, and just tanning. Besides the tannery, he had all these different businesses. So he did make some wealth, but he wasn't wealthy by any means. He just kept going with other things. And after Grant went to West Point in 1839, Jesse and the rest of the family moved to Bethel, and he started a tannery there. He retained ownership of this, and the tanner that worked for him lived in the house for quite a while. Then it became a rental, as I said, which was unusual.
And how far away is Bethel?
12 miles.
12 miles.
12 miles.
And did General Grant's father build this house?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, Jesse, his father, built the whole house.
I think in 1824? Or?
Started 1823.
1823.
And by 1828, he had the whole house built. So within 5 years, he had a big house. And that was telling everybody that he was doing well.
Yeah, right.
Here's the hall, which is my favorite room. This lady that did this flooring, she stayed with me and told me all about it. It's a piece of canvas. She made it herself, and she hand painted it and then nailed it down, because that's what they did back then. Now we have glues to put things down and all, but she made it just the way they did it. But then she had to put polyurethane on it to keep it from wearing off, which they did not have. But you had to do that to keep it. And then here's the original staircase. Now this was Grant's bedroom. He was the oldest child, and he got his own bedroom for a little while. Small room, but most children did not have their own room.
Wow.
But he's looking out at the dead animals.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So again, he hated his tannery.
Hated the tannery.
Always right there in his face. These are the beds that they would have had, rope beds. And they're not comfortable. You look at this. This is not a comfortable bed.
Sure. Sleep tight.
Yeah, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs. The bed bugs were in the straw and the feathers. You couldn't get rid of them. But the bed key, this is to tighten the ropes. And you do it like this and pull it, and then put a peg there to hold it.
Wow.
And you had to do that, otherwise you'd end up on the floor.
Sure. So this was his own bedroom.
For a little while. Then the Grants, they had 2 girls. And so then it became the girls' bedroom.
Just a little, what is that, about 6 by 8?
Then this room is a wonderfully big room. And we furnished it before this History Connection took over with lots of beds. The reason was Jessie Grant had a sister, lived in Akron. Her husband died and she had 5 children. She could not own property. She could not take care of anything. He had to go up there and get her and bring her and her family down here. But she had no place to go.
Wow.
So there were lots of beds in here for all those children.
Wow.
So instead of 4, 5, or 6 people, there were 10, 11, 12 people. But they wanted to look nicer, so we don't have all those beds. But they would have been here.
Sure.
This chair is very special. Jesse, his father, made it for his mother, Hannah. And it's more delicate than the chairs downstairs that we have. He spent way more time because it was for his wife, Grant's mother. And that's very special.
Do you think he was rocked in that chair?
I'm sure he was.
Wow.
I'm sure he was.
Awesome.
And this belonged to them as well. And it's called a winder. You need to measure out your yarn before you knit. So you can put one in there, turn it 40 turns, and gives you a skein of yarn. Or you can do it the easy way. Push the peg in right there, called a weasel. You push that in, it automatically turns 40 turns, and then it pops. Pop goes the weasel.
There you go.
It's called a weasel, we don't know.
Huh.
This is we call it a closet, but back then they called them presses. A closet's where you hang your clothes this way.
Right.
A closet, it doesn't work. The hanger, it's not big enough. This is a press, where you had pegs on the back, and you hung your clothes on there, and shut the door and pressed them.
There you go.
It was called a press.
Wonderful.
The spinning wheel did not belong to them, but she would have had one like this. It's called a walking wheel. Not that you walk with it, but you have to stand up to run it. And this is very special. This cradle belonged to his mother. His mother, she was a Simpson. It was the Simpsons family cradle. So almost for sure all the Grant and all the other children were rocked in it. And it's gone, has one long side says the mother can sit and rock the baby while she's knitting, sewing, crocheting, doing something else. And here's another rope bed that has an extra added attraction. I think this is so smart. And you would get into bed, take your blankets and bedspreads and roll them up on this, because we already talked about maybe the floor was a little dirty. Roll them up. Then during the night, if you get cold, you just unroll them back on the bed. You didn't want the bedclothes to get on the floor because the floor wasn't that clean.
Wow.
But this is so smart. Don't things, our blankets and bedspreads get in a wad, make a mess.
Right.
It keeps them in order.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And the trundle bed, the little children would sleep on it. You pull it out at night. The children sleep on it. And I've had so many children say, "Oh, this is so cool. If you fall out, you don't get hurt. You're already on the floor."
Right.
Now, this architect that did this renovation, he and I disagreed about this one thing. There's another bedroom right there. There was always a door here. And he said, no, there was no door at the beginning when he did his architectural discoveries. He said there was no door. Later on, there was a door. I don't think that's right. Hannah, the mother, would have said, I don't need more work. I have to go down that set of stairs up the others to get there. Put a door here. It only made sense. He said no. So we disagreed, but he had the money, so he did what he wanted. So he put this magic door, if the kids all love it. There was no door, and then later there was a door.
Oh, wow.
He invented this. So it's the magic door.
This is on the addition in the back.
Well, this is the beginning of the house.
Oh, okay.
When you first came in, that first room, he put this room on top of it, 1823.
I see.
One on top of the other. Didn't even put a stairway in. He just came up and down on a hole in the ceiling and a ladder. And you could see where the floor was cut away for that ladder.
I see, yeah.
And this is the way
Wow.
we had it all furnished. Plain walls, woodwork. And you could mop the floors and take the rug out and wash it. When you've got nailed down carpet, how you clean it, I don't know.
Right.
So that was a little diverse thing that we kind of argued about. Here's another bed key. It's a lot thicker than the other one, but it does the same trick. You put it there and pull it up.
Nice. This would have been, the whole family would have slept in here originally, so.
Yes, and this turns like the other one.
Neat.
Roll up with blankets. And if you couldn't afford drapes and curtains, you would have blinds. And this lady made these for this room. They're made out of a heavy linen, and she figured out how you would raise and lower them on those ropes and pegs.
Interesting.
I mean, the pioneers were so inventive and creative with making do with whatever you had.
Right.
And I tell kids when they're in this room, you wake up in the middle of the night, you need to go to the bathroom. They didn't have a bathroom. And the outhouse is that building there. That's the original outhouse.
Oh, wow.
There. Jesse Grant built it. And the reason it's still there, it's brick. Most of them were framed.
It's a brick.
Right, bathroom.
Yeah.
Brick bathroom.
Right.
So in the middle of the night, cold, windy, rain, snow, whatever, all you've got is a candle. Well, that doesn't work. So they use a pot in here. And then in the morning, it's a children's job to clean that.
Man.
I said, but hold on. Doesn't somebody clean your bathroom at home? School, McDonald's, wherever you are, we still clean bathrooms. Yeah, but they don't like to think about that. But that's the way it was. And in the morning, too, there's the fireplace. Every room would have a fireplace. The children's job usually was clean it out, put new wood in for the next night, and you had to do it. Whether you felt like it or not, everybody had these chores that they had to do. So you couldn't say, oh, I don't feel like doing it today. No, you had to do it. And this is leather. We show samples of the leather. This is what Jesse would have done. From the live cow to this, ready to sew, would be at the minimum 10 months. And then they would sew it with this, poke holes, and then here's the needle and the thread, really heavy needles.
Sure.
And this. What do you think this is? It's tough as can be.
Heavy duty thread.
Yes, it sure was. And then this.
And it's shrunk too to make it stronger.
Right. And then I showed kids this turtle shell.
Wow.
They made turtle shell combs, and I don't know how they did it. All right, we came up the big staircase. This is the smaller one. It's rather treacherous. You have to pay attention.
Sure.
See, this is the original first room that he built. This room and then one we were just in. And that's the original fireplace where Hannah did all her cooking. This is the original, still there.
You can see the original outside brick here too.
You're right. And in this case are all Civil War things. But those are the best. Those are Grant's binoculars
Oh,
he
cool.
used during the Civil War. And I had a fellow just the other day, he said,
Wow.
you just think what he saw through those binoculars.
Oh,
There it is.
this rock here. Do you want to tell a quick story about the rock?
Okay, oh yeah. Dr. Buckner built a house uptown, and Grant was 12 years old. He had 5 workmen help build the house, and he wanted to bring up this big stone from the creek a mile downhill. They went down and looked at it and said, we can't move it, it's too big. Grant heard about it. He was 12. He went down and looked at it and came back and told Dr. Buckner, I'll bring it up. And Dr. Buckner laughed at him, said, no, you can't do it. But Grant had been hauling stone for many, many months, many years actually, and he was 12. He took a team of horses and a wagon, went down, and this rock was cut like this, but it was in the water but at the edge. He dug a deep trench on each side of the rock, backed the wagon down over it. Then he took ropes and chains and worked them underneath the rock. It took
Wow.
3 days to work the ropes and chains under.
3 days.
Lashed into the bottom of the wagon, pulled the horses out slightly, tightened up the rope, pulled a little more, tightened up the chains. After 3 more days of work, he finally got it up high enough so it wouldn't drag coming up the hill. And he put it in front of Dr. Buckner's house.
Right.
Everyone was so amazed that he figured out how to do it. The workmen all thought they had to lift it,
5 men
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
but he didn't lift it. He let the horses do it. So he thought outside the box.
Definitely a genius, right?
And we had it moved here, and they have a formula to determine how much it weighs. And it weighs between 1 1/4, 1.5 tons.
Wow,
And this little 12-year-old boy moved it all by himself.
that's awesome.
It is. Now, one
Big
other
time.
little aside.
Sure.
My house up there, and it's built in 1830. And the Baileys built our house, and Grant's were good friends. The wall had to be built before my house was built. Who hauled the stone? Grant and his father.
Oh my
I
gosh.
know they helped build that wall.
Wow,
I don't
surely.
have any proof of it. I have no proof. Nobody said that they did that, but I know they did. There weren't that many people here,
Sure.
and everybody helped everybody else.
Right. And he was hauling.
I say probably Ulysses and his father and everybody else helped build that wall.
Awesome.
And it's still there.
Yes, ma'am. And there's the outhouse.
There's the outhouse.
The brick outhouse.
Original. It's a two-holer.
2 holder. All right, so this concludes our trip here, our visit here to the Boyhood home of General President Ulysses S. Grant. We were so lucky to have the Miss Nancy Purdy that actually helped us to gave us the tour of this wonderful historic location. Grant is a controversial person by no stretch of the imagination. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people don't know much about him at all. But he definitely is a Scotch-Irish of ancestry that he definitely has had a big part in influencing America, and definitely is a huge historical person that we should all take note and learn from. So, and remember, family tree nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.